Friday here at the Heroes Global Championship, and we are going to be finishing out the last week here before we move to Katowice, Poland, trying to figure out who will fill out that last spot for the European division. My name's Trixer. Over here is Caldor. Caldor, how was your week? How was Valentine's Day?
Pretty lonely, to be honest. It's really tough these days to find a nice girl that doesn't pick Lava Wave. It's really rough.
A dumb comment. Let's go ahead and continue to look at the standings here for HGC Europe. Total of 8 teams here. Number 1, 2, and 3 have already secured a spot for the Western Clash. That's right, Team Dignitas, Fnatic, and Method will be fighting for Europe, but 3 teams are fighting for 1 spot.
Exactly. Zealots, Tricked, and Diamond Skin still have chances to... Zealots, Tricked, and Team Liquid, of course, still have a chance to go through the Western Clash. To be fair, Zealots only have a theoretical chance at this point. First of all, they have to beat Dignitas pretty significantly, and Dignitas only lost 1 map so far in Phase 1, Part 1, but then also a few more stars to have to align for them. So even they themselves acknowledge that it's going to be difficult to impossible to do that, but there is a statistical chance.
There is a slight chance. Let's go ahead and look at the schedule here and see the matches that will be going your way. First off, as mentioned by Caldor, Dignitas and Zealots will be facing off, but later on, Method and Tricked Esports, probably one of the biggest matches of the day for me personally. Later on, North America coming at you.
With Team Freedom going up against Simplicity and Tempo Storm against Gale Force. Now, we talked a bit about the teams that can make it to the Western Clash in Europe, but North America is even more stacked for those positions, and especially the match between Tempo Storm and Gale Force is going to be super important for it. Tempo Storm is already qualified, but Gale Force has a chance to secure a spot for themselves here, but it's not going to be easy. Tempo Storm only losing 1 series so far in 2018.
Back over to Europe, let's go ahead and talk about Dignitas and Zealots. Zealots have a major chance here to possibly go to the Western Clash, but it is a very slim one. Let's go ahead and check in with them and think what they think about the matchup.
So at the moment, Dignitas looks unstoppable, even though in some series they had games that they were not that dominating. And I think it's because they have very good players. All of them have a lot of experience and high hero pools, so it's really hard to find any weaknesses in the roster. The dream would be to win 3-0 so we can qualify for Western Clash, but at the moment it sounds very unrealistic, so we expect that Dignitas will win 3-0. We will try to fight, show good games, and hopefully take a few maps, maybe even a win if they have bad day.
I think Zealots have looked really good throughout the season. They've had a number of strong performances at this point. They definitely have their games where it looks like they're performing really well and synergizing very well, and they have a very distinct style. They seem to really prefer like the Hanzo Tassadar style comps, and they're kind of just playing their own meta and finding their own groove, which I like. I think one advantage for them in this series is it's like their last chance to go all out, for at least for the Western Clash. You know, they have no reason to hold back. They're going to give us everything they've got, so I think they're going to come at us really strong. But I think if we play our game and we just play like we have been for the rest of the season, we should have no issues taking the series.
I do enjoy that Dignitas is keeping an eye on Zealots. Remember, last year we did have the Playing Ducks take a series off of Fnatic when it felt like Fnatic was unbeatable at the time, so it still is any given day here at the HGC.
Yeah, and the important thing to remember is, of course, it's not only about the Western Clash. The standings will continue, so every single map that you win now is already important in regards to the mid-season brawl. And especially the teams that are currently in a spot where they think that they won't be able to make it to the Western Clash. They already said mid-season brawl is the next goal, so every single map counts. And if Zealots, even if they can't win the series and won't go to the Western Clash, if they can take 1 or 2 maps off Dignitas, that would already be a huge step forward and also distinguish them a bit from other teams, as for example, Leftovers and Diamond Skin potentially.
Certainly can pay off later. And speaking about maps, it's time to start here. Battleground number 1 is ready to go, as we'll be moving into Tomb of the Spider Queen, Dignitas with a pick. In regards to bans, we will have Dragonshire and Braxis Holdout banned out for this series.
Yeah, Dragonshire being banned by Zealots is an interesting one. They haven't banned the Battleground thus far, so it's more of an adjustment here. Dragonshire is by far the best map that Dignitas has right now. But then again, Dignitas, of course, is looking really strong either way. Braxis, on the other hand, is something that Dignitas bans quite a lot, not exclusively, but they usually try to get rid of the map here. So pretty normal in that regard. Tomb the Spider Queen is our first choice. And this is also the map choice in this case now of Dignitas. They have lost one single map here, and that was of course in the series against Team Liquid, but they still choose to play the map.
And as an update for you guys at home, we will be on the Maiev patch. However, no Maiev is available for play today. We will see her at the Western Clash, but the new Greymane is in, the new Malthael is in, so we'll be having some variation in terms of those picks, and we'll see if they'll affect the meta in a way. Because so far we've been having Blaze a lot and Tracer. Remember, we saw her very often last weekend, and she started to pop up the week before too, so I expect more today.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about Malthael, that's something that I'm really curious about, because I've watched a few scrims, but I haven't really seen Malthael as much as I thought I would see him, and I also haven't seen a lot of Last Rites. So, of course, there's a question, did he pop up in other games? You can only watch so many scrims at a time, obviously. We have already seen before the patch even Last Rites coming into North America at times and in other regions, but now I'm actually curious, are we going to see a bit more Malthael, or is Europe still on the opinion that he's just not worth the pick?
I will tell you, for us non-competitive players that are in Hero League, we are seeing Last Rites Malthael like crazy. He still dominates the lane. Him now having a cleave on his auto attack allows for him to be very strong in the top lane, and the Last Rites with the extra range and the cooldown reduction has been just enough to dominate Hero League, but we'll see if it comes into competitive play in any way, shape, or form as we head into game number 1. Remember, we are on Tomb Spider Queen.
Because I absolutely agree with you. I expected him to maybe not dominate drafts, but I expected him to show up a bit more.
Yeah.
But that wasn't really the case in the scrims that I watched. But then again, it could have just been in the wrong games at the time. The Tracer trend continues. Tracer banned out immediately. As we said before, she's incredibly popular now and has by now also risen up to a win ratio of 63% in Europe. Dignitas, of course, extremely successful with Tracer. They're 6-0 with her, so Zealots banning Tracer out right away, not giving anybody on the side of Dig an opportunity to show off with her.
Now, I want to see if Dig is going to go with a traditional ban here, or are they thinking about possibly trying to target what Zealots have been running, which has been that double support life with the Hanzo, mixing with the Tassadar here, maybe a Medivh instead with a typical support like the Uther or even the Malfurion. But Dignitas is actually thinking about Malthael themselves here as they're hovering it for a possible ban.
Yeah, I would really like to see him a bit more in play. I could understand if he gets banned out, but again, I have the feeling that I was just in the wrong scrims when I've been watching the games. So the new Malthael, I would love to see him in here. I still expect that we're going to see our fair share of Greymane, but Malthael banned out by Dignitas would also, of course, target Zealots a bit, since Zealots has always been one of the team next to Trick that have shown a bit of an affinity for Malthael, even in the old version.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a bit of a role here. But they switch over to Chromie and take her out, and that's of course a ban that we have seen very regularly on Tomb, or even as a first pick.
Yep, Chromie on Dragonshire, Chromie on Tomb of Spider Queen, usually the places that you're going to see her banned out or picked up. And here was my next question. Will we get Blaze immediately from Zealots? And the answer is a yes. Blaze has found his way into being one of the major first picks lately for a lot of our teams.
Yeah, and Blaze, ever since he was introduced to the game, he has now shown up in 64% of the game. So he has an involvement rate of 64% since he got released, which is pretty impressive and makes him currently the top tank when we include side laners in the tank rotation, so the top frontliner in HGC Europe. So pretty impressive stats for him. And that's of course another aspect where you think about Malthael, and at least at this point, Malthael has not gotten a priority where teams are willing to prioritize him over Blaze. So we need to find out if Dignitas or someone else is willing to play Malthael later on, but I would still expect, at least throughout the weekend here, Blaze to have the much more important position.
That's right. Gul'dan and Genji coming in for Team Dignitas. Wave clear for Gul'dan, Horrify. He pops up here and there when it comes to the weekend. Sometimes he's played throughout an entire series, sometimes he's dropped a little bit, but his strengths cannot be ignored, what he brings to the table. And then Genji here for Dignitas. Very similar role to what we saw with Tracer, but a little bit more defined. Sweeping strike into the fights, of course trying to force those fights, and really, even though he had a bit of a loss rate that was kind of low here in HGC, Snitch has been doing his best to make sure that's not the truth.
Exactly. So Dignitas is currently the only team that has an absolute stellar record with Genji. They played him 3 times and they won all 3 games. But if you then look at the whole of Europe, we're seeing Genji with 19 games and 12 losses. So that's a 37% win ratio, which is pretty abysmal for a hero. But as you said, Snitch currently, or at least Dignitas, trying to make sure that that win rate increases a bit, since Genji has started to fall off, which is also reflected in the draft now, since we see him not banned early on, but we have him actually as a pick in the second rotation.
Now Zealots, do they move into their Hanzo, and will they grab Uther here, or even a Tassadar? No, they go straight into Uther and Medivh instead. So we're getting the Medivh early from Zealots, ADRD, and its classic Medivh coming in.
Baiting a Diablo ban?
Possible. Diablo ban's good here, 2 minutes Spider Queen because of that ley line into A-bot combo you're thinking about. Do they ban Hanzo instead? Just as a talking point, I know they're hovering Diablo here.
I mean, the thing is, if you pick Medivh in this situation, you're already trying to put a bit of a focus on your opponent. You're basically faced them with the question, do you want to ban Hanzo, but you try to bait out the Diablo ban. I think if Diablo doesn't get banned out, Zealots pick him, but if you pick Medivh in that slot, then there's absolutely no way that you would be surprised by a Diablo ban. So picking Medivh in this rotation is for them simply saying, we want them to ban Diablo. We want them to use the ban for Diablo. If they still don't, then we also get a good combo. But I think the Diablo ban is the obvious here.
Well, Dignitas still thinking about it, thinking about their options, but Diablo lock-in will be coming soon. For Zealots on the right side, what will they think about banning?
Zealots and Tiamso can still ban frontline. We have seen, if I'm not mistaken, the most played tank for Dignitas on the map was so far Muradin. They played him a lot. 2 victories with him here, 4 games played for Dignitas on Tomb of the Spider Queen. And Muradin was indeed the tank that they played a lot. Outside of that, you could also still try to target Malfurion. I'm actually a bit surprised that they went into Rhaegar instead, since Malfurion is one of the preferred healers on Dignitas. It's actually the most successful healer that they have.
And he's good against portals too.
Exactly, and he's also really strong on the map, not only against Medivh with the portals as you said, but also the interrupt potential against turn-in, so that they would instead go over for Rhaegar surprises me a little bit.
There's always still the debate of the clean cleanse that's available for the Rhaegar, being able to pick one target, drop him out of there, and also give him that duration where he's unable to be CC'd. But it looks like Zealots have decided that they want to take him away from the field, and Dignitas, they'll have their Malfurion available, great with Gul'dan already too.
It has to be a target on the clans for sure.
You also can't forget about Ancestral Healing in the Genji too. That big panic button.
But here comes Malfurion now.
There he is.
And ETC over Muradin now taken by them. But the Malfurion pick doesn't surprise. Again, when we're looking at Dignitas and their Malfurion stats, they have now... Not only is it by far... They have a 100% win record with Malfurion, which is pretty obvious for Dignitas since they only lost 1 map, but they played Malfurion 10 times. So he shows up in most of their games. Just as a comparison, the next pick healer in their setup is Uther, and he has only half the amount of games. So Malfurion is just their go-to hero, and they have access to him here again. And now with ETC's power slide and also the roots on Malfurion, they have now a situation in which they can lock a target down, and that allows especially, of course, Gul'dan to get more damage.
Well, it's time for our main tank and our damage from Zealots. Is it going to be the clear Hanzo? Easy pickup. I've seen him from Zealots pretty often. Lunara could be okay here, but would be a little bit fearful because of Genji diving here.
Hanzo would be in line with what they've picked so far, and as we all remember, usually with Chris, they're trying to play this Hanzo style. They are the team that played the most Hanzo by far, but they're switching it up. They're going for Li Ming instead. We have Muradin. Now Muradin, with ETC being picked away, with Diablo banned, that doesn't really surprise. But with Li Ming over Hanzo, that's an interesting adjustment, since Zealots have been the team to pick Hanzo whenever available.
They also lose out on auto attacks, cleanup kills. I mean, Li Ming can set up pretty well, and if you are deadly accurate, of course you can get the kills, but one of our main issues is people are looking for those combos to come your way, so they're willing to adjust and make sure that they are separated from that. Zealots have Medivh for chase potential, but typically if your Medivh is chasing to clean up kills, you're not in a good spot. Interesting comp here from Zealots.
Yeah, just to put a bit of perspective on the switch between Li Ming and Hanzo. They played Li Ming 3 times, and out of those 3 games, they only won a single one. And they played Hanzo 17 times and won 9 of those games. So they were very adamant about picking Uther compositions with a Tassadar and then Hanzo into it. The wave clear is something that worked with this as well. Now they have Li Ming. And I think one of the main reasons is really that with the stun setups that they currently have, they are hoping to just set a target up for Li Ming to take down. Muradin, Stormbolt, then you have Blaze with the jet propulsion and the additional stun. Uther can also, of course, use Hammer of Justice, stun it out again. And I feel that's the idea behind it, to try and get the lockdown on a target, and then Li Ming goes in with a combo and takes it apart and try to work through the resets.
And you can also take the Medivh Leyline Seal on the backside and prevent that combo from coming your way. You have tools available. Just a different composition from Zealots, but they seem to really want to move out with this against Dignitas. This is the time that you have to put it all out on the table here. And I'm willing to see it. I'm ready.
I mean, another argument you could make is that with Hanzo, they would be a bit afraid of Genji. Oftentimes when we have Hanzo being used, Genji is banned out.
Sure.
I'm just not sure if that's the reason when I look at the composition that we have for the Zealots, because every single time that Genji tries to engage onto Hanzo in the backline, you still have 3 heroes with stuns that could immediately assist, and then Genji himself would be in trouble. So there would be some ways to work around it, but that might just play into the cards a bit as well, that they're saying, with the hit point pool that we have on Hanzo, it's a little bit too rough going up against Genji here. But with Liming, if they can get the resets, they could really end in a situation where Zealots take the lead, get the first turn in, maybe snowball it to the second, and then run with their advantage onto the Spider Queen.
Yeah, that's the key word for me there. If they're putting a lot of stock into this idea of killing one target and hoping to get a moment where you get a reset or two and then charge forward. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm willing to see it here. Let's go to 2-minute Spider Queen. Game number 1. We have Dignitas taking on Zealots.
And game number 1 starting up in the best of 5 series here at the HGC Europe, whereas to the left side we have Team Dignitas starting off with a Snitch on Genji, with Poik on Gul'dan, Wubi on the Haka, Zelia on Malfurion, and JPL on ETC.
On the right side in the red, Zealots, Chris playing Li Ming, Mopsio on Murden, Shad on Uther, Zarmony playing Blaze, and ADRD back on Medivh.
So, first game here of the day, and of course, as we heard from ADRD himself, the Zealots are very well aware that they are in a situation where a 3-0 loss on 0-3 loss for them would not really be a big surprise, but they said from the get-go, we have an opportunity. If Dignitas has a bad day, we'll be there to exploit that. Already with a bit of action against JPL, eats the damage here, but can move out. And talking about damage, looking at Murden now. Mopsio at this point with an adjustment on his level 1, going straight into the perfect stone.
Yep, that really kind of buys into that idea that we're talking about in the draft of trying to kill a target. Getting that stocked up gives you a little bit more damage ever so slightly as you continue to stack it up. And we'll see how it happens here. Stormbolt goes in, JPL takes some damage, a little bit of harassment, but eventually gets away.
Yeah, JPL was a focus point for Team Liquid when they played against Dignitas. His Anubarak was in a rough spot a couple of times, and so far Zealots are trying to focus him as well. So identifying him there at the front line. And with ETC, there's of course a tank around that has a bit of a lower survivability than others, as for example Murden. So at the bot lane, we have in the meantime Wubi going up against Zarmony. Blaze once again doing his thing, and there's Snitch. And that's one of the main reasons why we have Genji oftentimes so highly prioritized on this map, because Genji can rotate between lanes so easily and just put the pressure on. But with the help of ADRD, Zealots are able to turn that little skirmish around, and it's actually Genji who has to back off and tap at the fountain.
And Zealots turn around and try to put an aggressive move on the middle lane. Put down a portal, have Blaze come in to force a fight. Nothing really pops up there for Zealots to get a kill on, but Dignitas needs to be careful with that. Zealots do have movement on the field here. With that Medivh coming online, it's always something that you have to be terrified of.
Yeah, and the interesting part about Medivh is also that Zealots, and traditionally ADRD, of course, the Medivh player in Europe, have actually a negative win ratio with Medivh. Coming into last week, and they had 4 losses with him, but they were able to secure 2 victories in their last series. So that might actually increase today, but currently with Medivh, they're sitting at 2 wins and 4 losses. A bit uncharacteristic for ADRD's team, since we all remember Expert, of course, last year, where one of the most important things was just the synergy and the coordination that they had around Medivh and his portals, which oftentimes even led to a Medivh first ban against them on maps like Tomb of the Spider Queen.
Yeah, that's what was lacking definitely when those losses came in, was that synergy. There were many moments where like, okay, why didn't they pick a portal here? Why didn't they get H? And they definitely worked on it, as you mentioned, we saw it last week.
And I mean, it's understandable. A lot of the teams have changed their lineups quite significantly, so you need to build up that synergy before you have that absolutely to perfection. So once again, good drag coming in from Wubi here. Zarmony is getting ganked, and ADRD always around, providing the vision and also making sure that Zarmony is not in too much trouble. So a nice double tag team here down at the bottom lane, making sure that Genji is not putting too much pressure on Blaze.
I still like that Dignitas keeps coming down the bottom lane though and trying to put Blaze in an uncomfortable position, because Blaze typically in a 1v1 is going to be comfortable the entire duration of the laning phase. So Genji constantly coming down, even with ADRD, sharking and helping, is still allowing Wubi to start to get control of that map, or that part of the map, especially with Essence coming in and him leveling up towards level 7. Dig will be in a good spot, and Wubi will be happy with that lane.
Shat now with a turn-in attempt, but Poik is there, interrupts him, tries to make this a bit more difficult, and now the same is happening with Dignitas at the bottom turn-in spot. Trying to get into a position here. Mopsio working on his stacking process with a perfect storm. At this point, has 5 stacks on his perfect storms. There's an extra 25 damage that he already has built up. And the more the game continues, the more damage he will have, and that then will lead to Liming potentially with him together take a target down right away.
Yeah, land those storm bolts, man. Run with the ball on those. Try and get that damage up as much as you can. We'll keep an eye on Mopsio as he keeps popping those out. 7, a big power spike for our teams to hawk on the left side for Dignitas. Hang on though, Poik takes some damage, is able to kite away thanks to a root. Mopsio takes some harassment back on the right side, while Wubby finds a drag on Zarmany.
Yeah, Zarmany in the portal is there, but you could see that the aggression towards Poik is something that Zealots has been planning, that one-shot potential that they were hoping for. And it was also ETC making sure that Blaze couldn't get into the fight at the time that really helped Poik to survive here. We also saw some really nice sidesteps from him on Gul'dan, but the Zealots definitely with a very clean idea of what they're trying to do here. The turn-ins on the other hand, Dignitas is in a bit of an advantageous position here. Poik in trouble, and Medivh is trying to move in. Great power slide by JPL, but the portal is still up and Zealots uses it to move away, but that could have potentially been a kill against Gul'dan.
Clever escape from Gul'dan and great play by JPL allows for Gul'dan to escape, but you are really starting to see what potential is available for Zealots, especially with 7 coming online, Calamity coming in. Now Liming can commit to the idea of play, trying to blow somebody up. Just a matter of whether or not Dignitas can stop it in advance. Right now though, Dignitas have a pretty aggressive push set up as Web Weavers are set up for that turn-in.
Yeah, the Web Weavers are going to come in, and at this point the experience is nearly the same. The question is how much can Dignitas get out of this first objective. Shat already in the mid lane. Mopsio is lurking at the side, has currently 9 stacks on the Storm Bolt, so soon enough there will be some significant damage that he can put onto the backliners, but it's all about the experience. Will Dignitas be able to move towards level 10 and get that second turn-in?
Should be able to do pretty well. They'll have to be careful of the wave clear of Blaze, and they've actually taken their time here to break down a turret before Blaze does clean up that Web Weaver. But the middle and top lane is where they can get that additional experience. So far, they've jumped up to 8.5. Let's see if they can get any more here, as there's actually still that 2v2 on the bottom lane. Zarmany gets dragged to the side, but ADRD becomes the next target as Snitch moves in and tries to get him.
Really well done here. Basically, Snitch just telling Wubby, listen, if you drag Zarmany in, ADRD is going to be forced to show, and I can jump on Medivh. So never really even trying to go for Blaze, realizing that the chance of taking Blaze out are more or less non-existent in this setup, and instead focusing the attention immediately on ADRD. So a good move by Genji. ADRD not falling, but showing very clearly that they know who to threaten in these spots.
Still, Team Dignitas on the other side of the map was able to open up pretty well here. They get 9.5 in experience. JPL goes for a power slide. Snitch comes in for the combo. It's going to be jumping straight onto a target. The force of will on a portal will get Mopsio out.
Very well done here. Great move by ADRD and getting him out here. The force of will in particular was already great. So once again, 10 close for Dignitas. They have snuck ahead in experience, but Zealots still not losing a single hero. Both of the teams have not gotten a kill yet.
They've been close,
Yeah.
both teams, but just barely hanging in there. 10 about to hit though, and that will change the story of this game. We'll start to finally see some kills coming in, a Dragon Blade being popped, or a Horrified Landing. Could spell doom for the Zealots, and they'll have to try and stop this turn-in from happening here. Only 51 of the 55 gems available for Dignitas to get that turn-in, but still very close as Wubby preps the bottom lane.
Yeah, the important part to note is, of course, that they haven't turned in any gems yet. So they have to make sure that they turn in with several heroes. Zealots are close to level 10, so there's still an opportunity for some interrupts. Or are they just going to accept it? They're currently at the bottom turn-in spot. They know that there are a few heroes on the bot lane, so they're trying to focus on them more than anything else. JPL now also in a bit of trouble. Not power sliding just yet. And Mopsio with a Storm Ball just a bit too early. Doesn't hit home. And therefore now, as both are on 10, we still have Dignitas in a lead.
One more gem for them, and they'll have the turn-in. Zealots can answer back by turning in now.
Yeah.
They are controlling this bottom side as much as they can. Zarmany peels off to deal with the giant push that will be set up earlier, and we're going to have a sneak in. Team Dignitas gets the last gem dropped off, and they'll have their second turn in of the game. Now, can they get forts here? That's the big question.
Yeah, also Polymorph now, of course. The Polymorph on the side of Medivh. Something to be used in the fights as well. Not going for the ley line setup, since Diablo was banned out against them after they took Medivh early. They're not going for the combo attempts here, but instead just trying to interrupt.
Polybomb be pretty versatile too. Helps against Genji if he dives into
Yeah.
the back line, but also helps for focusing that one target if they do catch the ETC like they want to with a Mopsio Stormbolt into a combo from Li Ming. They can drop the Polybomb to secure the kill so he can't power slide away.
Big rotations here again by Dignitas. The second turn is doing work for them. And the defense is already started up. AD already with the shields, always in position here. But of course, Dignitas is now starting to take structures. They've taken most of the towers. They're going for the fort in the mid lane. And their Haka is very busy at the bot lane, taking another fort down. So the experience is just tickling into the hands of Dignitas, giving them a 1-level lead and a very good structural position on the map.
Dahaka just being the pesky gerbil he is. A lot of members and folks believe that Dahaka on this Battleground loses a lot of the value that he has in a global, but if you're able to create even the smallest amount of space like we just saw there, you're able to take a fort for free, and you're able to join your team whenever you need to. 2 forts down, a third one can be picked off as well. Blaze clears up the bottom lane, and Dahaka at any point can come in.
Now, Dahaka is also one of the favorites for Wooby at this point. Of course, they've played a fair amount of Blaze and other heroes as well, but they have played with Dahaka 6 times up to today. An 100% win ratio, 32% involvement rate for Dignitas. So they really love to play with Dahaka, and it shows why. Wooby is just absolutely spot on when it comes to the drags, the isolations that he hits as well, and it really works out for them.
I truly feel like Dahaka is one of the main answers you have against the Blaze right now. With Blaze getting so popular right now, who has a wave clear and the ability to control the lane just as well? I mean, Leorg's fallen off. He doesn't win trades against Blaze. Dahaka allows some staying power and also some engagement power, so it's pretty good pickup.
Yeah, you know, the interesting part for me is that the only team that hasn't played Dahaka yet at all in 2018 is Fnatic. Not a single Dahaka game. Every other European team has played with him, but with Bad Benny, we haven't seen Dahaka on the side of Fnatic yet.
Maybe he's prepping it for the Western Clash, gonna pull it out.
Secret
We'll see.
strategy.
Secret strategy that no one knows of. Only the most popular offlaner, Bad Benny, working in the shadows.
I love how that just triggered you. Yeah, so we could see that. I mean, at this point, we could definitely see them bringing it in one of the upcoming games. But yeah, so far it hasn't really shown up in their compositions. They had different priorities. They played a lot with Leoric, for example. We were going to talk about Fnatic tomorrow. For now, it's all about Zealots and Dignitas, and that's where the Zealots need a bit more experience. They're trying it by a kill attempt against Wooby. The drag misses, no kill yet, and the immediate move out with a portal. Zealots were completely happy to try for a kill and to gank someone, but they don't want to take a fair fight, or well, it wouldn't be a fair fight since they don't have 13. They want to move out and reach 13 first before they go into any team fight scenarios. And yeah, we're 11 minutes in and we still haven't seen a kill yet.
They really need to get a kill soon. They need to force something. They are going to be having a third turn in a row, Dignitas, and Zealots can't make something happen now. And remember, they still have 120 gems on them.
Master's Touch, by the way, is completed. And to be frank, Zealots being this close in experience still just a level behind, if they start getting turn-ins now, that would be fantastic for them and would probably help them to pretty quickly close the experience gap. They have to deal with all these camps that are taken though, but once again they're going in with the Polybomb. ETC with the Mosh Pit as the Divine Shield comes out to save Mopsio. He still has it and is trying to pressure Genji back. And the rest of the team is still defending the bot lane, taking out the Siege Giant camp that Dignitas took a few seconds earlier.
But that still makes Zealots back up. Mopsio actually gets engaged upon again here. He jumps away, Force of Will. We'll keep him up for now. But now Zealots are positioned around their fort in the middle. And there's enough gems. There's 14 available. Dignitas can try to sneak a few in. Here's 7 trying an attempt at the top.
Yep, ADRD also doing a very good job with those portals. Very quick rotations with the entire Zealot team across the map. And that's one of the reasons why Medivh is oftentimes so popular here. Mopsio once again working on his own quest and also stacking the damage on his Stormbolt. He has 16 stacks on both at this point. And again, the attempt to go in for Snitch, but the jet propulsion is a bit too late. Genji moved out. But the turn-in, as you said, is the really important part here. And Dignitas is now on level 15, whereas Zealots are just hitting 14. They need the turn-in, and for that they might need the kill, and they're trying to. They're going for Wooby once again. The Haka is in trouble and has to pop his trade, but it's just not enough to confirm the kill.
Snitch will harass here. Blue Web Weaver's coming in, and ETC has already prepped the middle lane. We're going to have Dignitas group up. This is a third turn-in a row here, Kaldor.
Yeah, and that's a problem because Dignitas is half a level away from level 16. So that means, depending on how this goes, Zealots might not get a turn-in for a long time, since with the talent advantage, even if they don't get too much out of the turn-in here themselves, they are still, or should still be able, to deny Zealots a turn-in for the foreseeable future. And that's a problem, because if you hold this many gems, and you start losing heroes, you fall farther and farther behind in the game, and that's a massive issue.
Yeah, it just ruins your comeback. Even if you get kills or two, how are you going to break the field apart? So we're going to watch Dignitas as they continue to push in the middle lane here. Dahaka is working on the south side that 16 has connected that you were mentioning, Caldor. Very difficult time here for Zealots as they'll poke where they can.
Yeah, they're already trying to focus here on the mid lane for now, and they're taking structures, and it really starts hurting. Zealots are in trouble. Here's the Jag, AD barely getting out. The Divine Shield helping out. Good job by Shat, but they are just pushed farther and farther back, and that's a 3-level lead at this point for Team Dignitas. They don't take the keep in the mid lane yet. We're having at the bottom of the map, on the other hand, once again a massive push thanks to Whoopi with the Haka, and this is starting to really hurt. The keep is already down 14 minutes into the game, and still we haven't seen a kill. Dignitas is just dominating this game through the objective.
Zealots are going to have to get a level here. They're going to need 16. Catapult will be pushing in the bottom. They're dancing around, trying to control. It's just getting worse and worse for them. They have to have a breaking point soon. And 16 is going to be that time. Because already Dignitas is near 18.
And they can't lose. They can't. Oh, there's the Horrify, and that's 50 gems lost. Moxios tried to recover them, but he doesn't get them. Doesn't get the gems, and that was a massive problem. And to be honest, that was also a misplay. Because in this situation, there was no reason for Zarmony to go in there. They had full vision through AD, and now they are losing more heroes. That was definitely a problem. Getting caught in that moment when you don't have 16 yet, you're half a level behind, and now all of a sudden the entire thing breaks apart. They still had the gems, there was still potential to come back, but with this double kill, Dignitas has the perfect opportunity to go in and end the match.
Yeah, but their eyes on the target, they move straight for the core. It continues to drop. Zealots looking for maybe an opportunity to get one reset so Limin can pop off and defend, but it does not appear to be possible as Dignitas grabs a 1-0 over Zealots.
Dignitas